Welcome back into the Tide Talk podcast on the Believe Podcast Network. Stacey Blackwood here with Jake Thomas. And before we really even get started, I want to apologize if we have any streaming issues tonight. Working on a very low quality Wi-Fi still for my family. I'm down at my dad's kind of man cave, I guess you can call it. And the Wi-Fi is not great down here out in the country, but we're going to weather through it and see how it goes and get a live show going. But with that said, Jake, how's it going, buddy?
Man, I'm doing great. Exciting week of football last week. Congratulations to the Hogs on their big win over Texas. Man, the SEC West as a whole went undefeated last week, and that's great to see. I know some of them didn't have really good matchups, but the biggest one on the West side, of course, was that Arkansas-Texas game, and Arkansas blew them out of the field, man. It was great to see. So big win for them, and let's move on to this week. We got a few interesting games, so let's ready to talk about them and review the Mercer game.
Yeah, the West is so strong. I mean, you think about it, it's possible that LSU might be the worst team in the West at this moment. Just looking at it, so. The West is certainly very deep right now, and it's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes up. Before we dive into it too far, I do want to tell you about our friends at betonline.ag. Of course, the football season is underway. Whether you want to bet on NFL or college football, betonline.ag is the place to go for that. They have all the bets that you're looking for when it comes to college football and the National Football League. So head on over there to betonline.ag today and sign up and receive that welcome bonus. Betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts. All right, guys, I'm still recovering from COVID. Just about 7-8 days into it now, but I'm doing good. Excited to be back with a live show. I don't have all my equipment with me, just using my trusty old MacBook Air right now. So we're just going to weather through it. And Jake, let's just talk about the Mercer game for just a few minutes. We're not going to stay on it too long. Just your overall thoughts on last weekend's performance for the Tide.
Well, honestly, Coach Saban called it. I mean, he told us leading up, he said, we've had horrible practices. There's no intensity per se right now, and there's a few that's given their all, and then there's a lot of them that's not, and it's showing. And, man, that first offensive series, was awful. I mean, we had a sack, and then you get to the second offensive series, we had boneheaded penalties. Jameson Williams got that personal foul penalty and or sportsmanlike penalty, my bad, but still, it was uncalled for, and it did not look like Alabama was ready for Mercer offensively. Now, defensively, they're still great. I mean, it seemed like the defense had a really good week of practice. The offense just didn't show up at all during practice. But, man, that defense, and I'm hoping, Will Anderson's injury's not as bad. It looks like it's a good sign. But, man, we need him for Florida. But that was the only thing I was worried about on defense was a key injury. And I'm glad it's not as bad as it could have been. But
yeah, I think he's going to be all right. From all indications this week, it looks like he's going to be a go for Saturday, unless he just takes a major decline, over the next couple of days. And I just really want to reiterate what you said. I mean, the team just kind of lacked intensity this Saturday, and I kind of think of it though, Jake. What is it? They're nearing a 100-game winning streak against ranked opponents. So the fact that Coach Saban can have ready to win that many games that are just kind of opponents that it's hard to get up for, it's really unbelievable. So it's really surprising that they haven't had more of those performances, in the last decade under Nick Saban. Y'all follow Connor Boyd's lead as he's getting in the chat. The chat is open for any questions or comments about this team. We're really excited. But yeah, just the Mercer game. It wasn't pretty all the time, but they got the job done. They scored 48 points. Had a special teams touchdown. Kool-Aid, got a pick. It was not his fault on that touchdown where he was in coverage. He thought he had safety help over the top, and Coach Saban let Daniel Wright know that he had made a mistake there. So that wasn't a play. But yeah, it's I'm glad that's out of the way. And now, Jake, we can talk about bigger and better things as they get ready to travel down to the Swamp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited for that game. Going back to Kool-Aid, a lot of people this week was like, you got to – he pretty much secured his starting role. But then my counterpoint was Jalen Armour-Davis, that would be the guy that he would probably replace. But in that first game against Miami, JAD did not do anything wrong to lose his job. He played a solid game. So that's a good problem to have, that you have Kool-Aid on, that looks like he's going to be a stud in the making on the sidelines, because that's just how deep Alabama is. But going to the Florida game, honestly, I don't see how Florida can beat us. I mean, they do have talent, but they lost a lot. And, I mean, that was the best team. I saw something this past week that said Florida's best team they had, in a decade was last year. They still lost 4 games. I'm like, dang, that's a true point. They did give Alabama their all, but this is a different team. And also, if they would use Richardson as a quarterback, I'll be a little bit more afraid. But he's got a hamstring issue. I hadn't seen how bad it's going to be or how bad it is. But if he's not 100%, you're going to stick with Emory Jones. I just don't see Emory Jones beating us.
Yeah, I don't trust Emory Jones to make consistent enough decisions that are quality decisions for 4 quarters against the Alabama defense for him to be able to lead the Gators to a victory. But like you mentioned, Anthony Richardson's a guy who's a playmaker. I mean, he's got nearly 300 yards rushing and nearly, I think, nearly 300 yards passing as well, or 200 yards passing through 2 games. So he's a playmaker. He's a guy that's hard to bring down because he's around 6'4", 240 pounds, super athletic. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure his injury situation right now. It's going to be, kind of, wait and see until the game gets started. But I did see that Vontrell Miller is going to be out for them. He had surgery on Monday, and he's probably the best linebacker, and now he's out for the game. So that's not good for that Florida defense that was already suspect at best. They're not great in that defense, and I just feel like Bryce Young is going to be able to carve that secondary up. And one thing I did see this week, Jay, and I don't know about you, the running game this year has been a little weird for us.
Yeah.
It hasn't been just explosive, but it hasn't been bad by any means. But did you know that we're better off the first – we've had a better start in the running game this year than we did last year to the first 2 games as far as statistically it goes?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's crazy to think. So I think we just give the running game some time. The offensive line is still, really figuring things out. So the pass protection and run blocking has not been as consistent as what we would like. But, we'll just kind of have to wait and see how that goes. If we are having streaming issues, I really do apologize. But like I said, we're working on a slow Wi-Fi right now and just trying to weather through this and get an episode out this week heading into the Florida matchup. But, excited about traveling to the Swamp. When was the last time? Was A.J. McCarron the quarterback the last time we played in the Swamp?
I think so. And I was going to point this out real quick, talking about the running game. Brian Robinson right now on 22 attempts has 130 yards. People was like, oh, that's nothing. That's pretty much 6 yards a carry. Yeah. I will take that the rest of the way. So give it time. I think Trey Sanders he's probably around 6 yards a carry. McClellan's probably about 5 yards a carry. So just give it time. We'll be fine on there. But yeah, going to the Swamp, I know it's going to be loud and they're going to be up and ready for the game. But like I said, talent-wise, there's a big discrepancy there. I think, I said this on a previous show before the season started. I don't think Florida's going to finish second in the East this year. I think they're going to be third. And Kentucky's looking like a contender right now on that Eastern to challenge Georgia. I just don't know they have enough yet, but I just don't see Florida being. I think Florida will be the third team. I just don't see them being.
Right. I don't trust Emory Jones long term. We don't know what Anthony Richardson would do, as the starter, and once teams have some film on him and kind of can adjust to his playing style. Not sure how that goes, but their defense is not great. So I don't see them being able to finish better than third in the East this year either. I feel like it's Georgia, a big gap, and then Kentucky. And then, teams like Florida, Missouri, those two teams, and then maybe kind of everybody else. But, I'm with you. I'm not sure Florida has enough horses to compete with Alabama for 4 quarters. Not that they can't make it interesting for, a little while, but if Alabama is focused and they're playing with the right intensity, then Alabama should win this game. I think they're favored by around 14 or 15 points. I think they cover that. And then some. I just feel like Alabama is going to play much better than what they showed this last Saturday against Mercer, as far as consistency and performance.
Yeah, I think it could be like 42-17 type game. I think that's probably what I'm going to go with. And then we're talking a lot about Florida. What about our boys? I mean, Bryce Young, like we said, looks like a stud, and he is a stud. Yeah. I mean, hasn't thrown an interception yet, and I think statistically he has better numbers than Tua did his first couple of games. So, I mean, he's had a great
start. He's had a great start, and the truth is the team could be better around him. I think there's been some miscues, some drop passes, some penalties. So I think when the team gets better around him or more consistent around him, not that they've been bad, but it's just going to make Bryce Young that much better. So I feel like this offense has a chance to be special. So I have all the faith in the world in Bryce Young and this Alabama offense.
Yeah, and looking at his numbers from last week, 19 of 27, 227 yards and 3 touchdowns. And I know they dropped at least 3 of those. At least 3.
Yeah, I remember 2 drops for sure in Saturday's game. One to B-Rob that was a for sure first down in the red zone. Yep. And then Jamison Williams dropped one that was, probably a 25, 30 yard game, not including what he could have got after the catch. So, it's there was a couple missed opportunities there on drives that could have been continued. And I think once the team starts playing more consistent around him, get better up front along the offensive line. I feel like the offense is going to be clicking on. And we talked about it before the season started. We didn't think the offense would be bad, but we did think it would take them a few games to kind of get in the groove and in the flow of things. I mean, there's a lot of new guys on the field at one time, so it just takes some time. And all things considered, Bryce Young has really exceeded expectations, for this team. He's played really good, and I think it's just going to get better and better each week.
Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you, this weekend we saw the emergence of one JoJo Earl. I mean, we finally seen with that kid, all the hype's been around him. And, man, he, I feel sorry for Slade Bolden because he pretty much took over punt return duties, probably took his spot at kick return, and he also took his spot, at slot receiver, it seemed like. So, JoJo Earl, he is fast, like they said, and man, he looks like he's going to be the next great wide receiver.
Yeah, I think there's going to be room for both guys because Slade is a guy that's dependable, at least, and got a comment here.
Roll Tide, Corey. Corey's a Florida fan. I went to school with him, so
not everybody can be as smart as us, Jake.
I know. You're going to get rolled Saturday. I do know that.
I just saw, Florida is a team that they got some dudes, obviously, but there's just too many question marks for me. I'm not sure if Will Anderson's healthy. I'm not sure they got anybody that can block him. I'm not sure that they can stop Alabama enough defensively, to win the game. I think they can. Like I said, I think they got enough to keep it close for a little while. But Alabama's just got too much. I mean, there's too much talent for Alabama, and like you mentioned, JoJo Earle is a guy that's really coming into his own, and he's a guy that maybe the second half of the season, you're thinking, golly, where did this guy come from? Teams that, people that don't just follow Alabama every week the way we do. So, we talked about JoJo Earle in fall camp and how he was making waves. And so he was making some noise then. So it's really not that surprising. But, us either, Cassidy. We can't wait for the weekend either. Going to be a great weekend. Really exciting. And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the big matchup with Auburn. Traveling up to Penn State. We'll talk about that for a few minutes before we head out for the night. But, Auburn's heading up to Happy Valley, Jake. What are your kind of thoughts on that real quick?
Well, I'm probably going to piss off a lot of Florida or Auburn people, but I don't care. But,
sure,
in all honesty, Bo Nix away from Jordan Hare is an average, maybe a below average quarterback. And if you want to at me on that, it's at Jake Thomas TTS on Twitter, but I said what I said. I mean, he has the Auburn magic at Jordan Hare, and when he's away from Jordan Hare, he's nothing. So if that Bo Nix shows up, Saturday night, Penn State's going to rout y'all, and it's going to be ugly. I'm just telling you, Penn State's defense is legit this year. And I don't really say that a lot about a Big Ten defense, but they're stout. And so the only question mark now, since it's come up, is James Franklin's been linked to the USC job. Where if that rumor, if it's got up there and he's been considering it and his players kind of know how they're going to react and how they're going to play. But I just do not see a way that, I guess Auburn magic can happen, but the whiteout, those fans at night, I just think it's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's hard for me to see Auburn winning that game. Do you have the spread of that, Jake? Do you know what that spread is?
Yeah, give me.
While you look that up, I was kind of caught. I'm with you. Bo Nix has not been great in true road games.
Right.
And the truth is, he's just been average really throughout his career overall. But in road games, he's just been flat out bad. Let's just call a spade a spade. That has nothing to do with the fact that he's Auburn's quarterback. It's just the truth.
Right.
So how does he respond at Happy Valley? That's when they have a whiteout, that is one of the most electric atmospheres in all of football. So, like you said, Penn State's got a really good defense. Anxious to see how their speed on defense matches up with Auburn's speed on offense. Auburn does have a great running game with Tank Bigsby and that other guy that I can't remember his name, who kind of broke out last week for those guys.
Zaire, so it's something.
Yeah, he's a good player. He
is.
He had like the longest touchdown run in Auburn history, which is a big. They had a lot of great backs. So they got a couple of really good backs. But like you said, it's going down to how well Bo Nix and how well Bo Nix plays is going to go a long way to determining whether Auburn can win that game or not. But just my gut is telling me that Penn State will win this game by 7 to 10 points. I'm not sure what the spread is.
What
6? Okay. Yeah, so they're around a touchdown favorite, which is to me about right. That game, 27 to 20, something like that. Penn State win that game, around that score. But like you said, it comes down to Bo Nix. How well does he play on the road in that tough environment? So, because if history repeats itself, it's not going to be a good day for Auburn.
Right, and like you said, let's call a spade, and being truthful, he had that one amazing game against Alabama. That's where his fame come in at, and after that, he hasn't really impressed anything. anybody. So he had that one unbelievable game against Alabama, and that got him, some hype around him. And any other time, it's been terrible.
See, and people don't remember the facts about games. They remember certain pieces of it. Bo Nix didn't even really play that great against Alabama in that game. First of all, Alabama blew that game.
They did.
But and I'm going to prove it to you. Bo Nix was 15 of 30 in that game for 173 yards.
Yeah.
So it's not that he had a great game. It's that Alabama blew it. I mean, 2 pick sixes, just overstated like it is a lot of times. And I'm not trying to, talk bad about Bo Nix, but the truth is that he's just been average in his career at Auburn, and just kind of. But he has a chance to change all that. If he goes up and plays well against State and they win, the narrative will start to shift for Bo Nix, and it should. But it's just we have to prove it.
You want to pull up that? Yeah, I was going to say pull that up because I want to talk about that.
He says, I think this week we will see some packages for Jalen Milroe in the red zone or short yard situation. The guy may be the best athlete on the field. Thank you, Bama Fanatic, for that. I think it's – before you go, Jake, I think it's obvious that the coaching staff is trying to push for Milroe to be QB2.
Yeah.
So I do not see it being completely out of the question that Milroe has some packages. And we talked about this before the season even started, that Milroe would eventually get some packages in the red zone around the goal line in short yardage situations. We talked about that in the preseason from the things that we were hearing coming from fall camp. So, I'm right there with you, Bama Fanatic.
And you're talking about how he's, the team might be trying to, or the coaches may be trying to push him to be QB2. I'm not here to rag on the dude, but Paul Tyson on that, I know he had to throw it, it's like 10 yards out that away, but it landed 5 yards short at the wide receiver's feet on that. I'm like, and it was just a boom, boom, and he could not get it there. I was like, oh my gosh. And then, of course, everybody on Twitter and on social media was like, Alabama's in trouble, behind Bryce Young. We've got to keep him healthy. I think Milroe, we really hadn't seen him pass a lot, but his speed, dude, that's a game changer. It is. Yeah. It's a game changer. So I think we will see some.
I think it needs to be talked about that if something did happen to Bryce Young, the offense would be completely different, regardless if the quarterback is Paul Tyson or Jalen Milroe. So it's going to have to be. I think that's one thing that's kind of maybe hurting his development a little bit. Not that his development is not where it needs to be. It's just that he's having to do something totally different than the other guys. So when he's in the game, the reps are not there. So we're not seeing a good, well-oiled machine like we see when Bryce Young is in there because they just don't get the same amount of reps during practice. So I'm right there with you. I think it's obvious that Milroe is the quarterback of the future, to the coaching staff. And I'm with you. I think he's an electric athlete. I think he has a chance to be a special player. Just, he's got some developing to do. But, if Alabama can get up early on Florida, maybe we can see him play some more. And, that'd be great for his development, not only for him, but for the rest of the team. And I'm excited about Milroe. I think he's going to be a great player. But we got Bryce Young this year and next year, and he's a special talent. So as long as he's healthy, I feel pretty good about the quarterback situation.
Oh, absolutely. And Jalen Milroe, he, like you said, he's awesome with his legs. And did you hear you was talking about three different packages for the quarterbacks? Bill O'Brien actually they talked about that during the game Saturday. Was he said we have 3 different playbooks for all 3 quarterbacks. So when Bryce Young is in, it's one playbook. When Paul Tyson comes in, it's another playbook. And when Jalen Milroe comes in, it's a different playbook. So, there's 3 playbooks there at Alabama, offensive playbooks for Alabama. And when you have that, I'm sure offensive line-wise, it's kind of – I'm sure their assignments don't change much. But wide receivers, I'm sure it changes a little bit. So, and running back. So, it's a lot to take in. That's why – Alabama has the best athletes, and most of the time, you've got to learn several different things on offense now and defensively that some people just don't cut. It's not cut out for it. I mean, it's different in Alabama.
Yeah, and I'm fixing to get on one of my soapboxes, and it's actually more towards Coach Saban. And before everybody jumps and goes crazy, but we all know that Jalen Milroe is an elite athlete and can run with the football. And we also all know that where he needs to grow at is in the passing game. So why do we put him in the game and only run him?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, how is that really developing him as a passer if he never throws the ball in the game?
It's not.
So Saban's always been like that. Once the second string or backup quarterback goes in, it's just to hand the ball off. I mean, I know getting in the game helps him a little bit, but it'd be nice to see him throw the ball a time or two. So that's just kind of – Saban's always done that. It's always been something that's kind of got on my nerves. Why not let the guy just play? Let the guy run the offense. If the other team don't stop it, that's on them.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's on them. So that's just kind of one of my little boxes. I don't understand why you're putting the guy in and letting him do something that you know he can do well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let the guy, develop. Who cares if he throws an interception when you're up by 30 or 40 points with 5 minutes of the game?
Right.
I wish they would let him, run the offense instead of just, turn around and hand the ball off.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that's all they do, and I agree with you 100% because let's see his stats. The other day were I don't think he threw, but maybe 3 times. Milroe, he only threw once. So,
yeah, well, he had a couple more attempts, I think,
but he
kind of RPOs, but he wound up, running with it. But
yeah.
I would like to see him actually have some drop back pass attempts,
right.
Something that's, in the offense, in the flow of the game. But, I'm sure we'll see it eventually. But that's just kind of been one of my soapbox issues with Coach Saban. And obviously he knows a lot more about football than I do. But it's kind of something I've always thought.
One question before we leave here, I was going to ask you, How confident are you with our right tackle situation right now? I mean, I know that's probably our weakest link on the offensive line, and I like Chris Owens, but when, he just struggled against Mercer, how's it going to be when we get into some of these elites?
Well, Florida's got a couple of edge defenders and Zachary Carter and the guy who ran his mouth today, Britton Fox.
Idiot.
Yeah, I mean, why would he ask if Alabama's ready? I mean, golly. I mean, they've won 15 games in a row.
And a national championship last year.
I don't know why you say stuff like that.
I know.
All right, we got another one here from Bama Fanatic.
Mm-hmm.
He says they can say Tyson is the number 2 QB because he would finish the game for Young, but make no mistake, Milroe would be the starter for the next game in the rest of the season. Yeah, that's what we were saying earlier when we were talking about how it looks like the coaching staff is kind of grooming Milroe to be that guy if something was to happen to Bryce Young. Totally agree with that, Bama Fanatic. We're fisting the head out here in just a couple minutes. But, yeah, Jake, I'm not sure how I feel about the right tackle situation because I want to see him against Florida first. I want to see how he performs against Florida. And for all we know, it could be Kendall Randolph this week. We have no idea. We're not going to know until they announce the starters. But it could be Kendall Randolph this week. So we'll just kind of wait and see on that. But, yeah, I would agree with you that Chris Owens is probably the weak link of the offensive line right now. But, I think he's good enough. I don't think he would cost the championship or anything, but he's just probably not going to be as good as what maybe Kendall Randolph could be, or maybe a JC like down the road, or maybe a Damian George. So
George got in
a little bit more because he played really well against Miami.
He did.
I just want to see. I want to see a game against SEC competition and see how he performs in that game, and be give him a more fair assessment after that performance.
Mm-hmm. I agree 100%.
Well,
that was a fun show.
Yeah, if nobody else, is going to jump in the comment section, we'll just kind of leave it at that. We went right around 30 minutes. Really good show tonight. Like I said, if y'all had any issues with the streaming, we apologize for that. I'm still, quarantining myself from my family. I'm in my dad's cave, which is kind of away from it's a separate house from his house. So I'm trying to use his Wi-Fi from his house, which is a good ways away. So it's not, just perfect internet, but we did want to get an episode out. We appreciate everybody tuning in and watching, and appreciate those that listen to us in the podcast form once it's released tomorrow morning. So we really appreciate that. Jake, you got anything else to add before we head out? Yeah, Bama Fanatic chimed in and said someone will earn that right tackle's position this week. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I want to wait and see before I really judge too harshly, any guy at that spot, because I think we'll see a couple guys there this Saturday.
Yeah, I agree 100%. No, I'm good, man. Just ready for this week. Florida and Alabama, and is there anybody else in the SEC that's got a really big, tough matchup? I can't think anybody.
Georgia and South Carolina, so that's Georgia should win that pretty easily. A sneaky game is Tulane and Ole Miss. That
is a sneaky game. So thank you, Bama Fanatic. Yeah, watch out for Tulane, because we talked about it last night on the show, our show. But if Tulane would have got that fourth down conversion, they would have beat Oklahoma. And yes, the baseball schedule for Alabama is out for this coming up year. So everybody go check that out. I'm sure you can find that either probably online or Twitter. I'm sure somebody's posted on Twitter too, but it will be under Alabama Athletics. I guarantee it. So go check that out. And like we've talked about, we're in the heart of football season right now, but we cover all the sports. And one thing I do want to say real quick, we lost a good one in basketball, for the season.
I know.
Yeah, so I was really, really hoping to see him play this year, but we're loaded. I mean, I'm not really concerned much about injuries anymore at Alabama. That's funny to say, basketball team, because the next guy is a 5-star as well now, or are a great, a great player to come in. So, but yeah, we're hard at football.
One thing on the basketball front that may be a little surprising to some people. I've been hearing that the coaching staff thinks that Keon Ellis may be the best player on the team.
I saw that. That's interesting.
So,
because there's talent.
And I like that guy. He's a guy who was, played pretty well last year, and I think he's a guy that's got really high potential. So I'm excited to see this team, and that'll be starting up before too long. I mean, we've almost made it to October. Yep. Once we make it to October, the basketball season will be here before you know it. So really excited about that. A lot to look forward to in all Alabama athletics.
Absolutely. I was going to say, Alabama's basketball team, they have a loaded schedule this year. We've got to play Gonzaga, and I was hoping we got to see that in the Final Four last year, but we'll get to see it this year. We'll see how it goes. So I'll be that week. Whenever we get to cover that, man, I'm excited. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, we're going to follow. We're going to follow.
Well, guys, we're going to head out now. Yeah, we appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Hope y'all have a great rest of the week. Make sure you cheer on the Tide this Saturday at 2:30 on CBS when they take on the Florida Gators down there in the Swamp. I look forward to watching the game in the Swamp with Alabama. That's a great atmosphere.
Yep.
The stadium's going to be full, so I look forward to that. That's going to be a great environment to play in for the team, and a great opportunity to get that first SEC win of the season. All right, guys, we're going to head out. Make sure you do head on over to betonline.ag for all your online sports betting needs. You can follow our podcast on Twitter at Tide Talk Pod. We're on Facebook at Tide Talk Pod. Make sure you join the Tide Talk Podcast group on Facebook as well. You can follow me on Twitter at Blackwood89.
And as always, I'm at Jake Thomas TTS.
All right, guys. Appreciate everybody listening. Until next time, roll Tide.
Roll Tide.